Kerri King, it's such an honor to have you on my show today. Thank you so much for joining me.
It is an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so grateful for you. And I love the work that you do. You're an entrepreneur, a mom extraordinaire, right? We all are if you have kids. But you design and run Kingfolk Company because after you had a death of your father, you just kind of put your heart into everything and you started this amazing company where you're designing Bible covers.
Right.
That's so incredible. And you now have hundreds of thousands of customers and you're able to employ other stay-at-home moms. That's incredible. So,
Thank you.
So first of all, we all have a story and I'm sure it involves the death of your father.
Right.
Which I'm so sorry for your loss. It's so horrible as we age and we start to, it's a fact of life, right? Yes. I'm taking care of my mother right now. And it's, you cherish every minute that you have with your parents, of course. So what was it about that made you think, I've got to do something. I've got to put this grief into a passion. And how did that evolve?
Right. Well, my dad was always such a huge supporter of mine with any business that I did. I started off in 2006 with a photography business, and he went to the bank with me, got a loan for the photography equipment. He was always so encouraging of anything that I wanted to do. It didn't really matter what it was. He was just like, yeah, let's do it. But his background, he came from a really, really poor family. So, and whenever I say poor family, when he was 6, he was having to walk 1.5 miles one way to go in. He would shine shoes and for a nickel a day, have to walk back home. So that's another 1.5 miles across train tracks in this weird neighborhood, bad neighborhood. And, he just did not want us to ever have to do anything like that. So that's the kind of dad that I came from, was a father that had to work hard to be able at the age of 6. And I have a 7-year-old. I can barely let this kid walk across the street without me being okay, I'm going with you. And, I can't imagine just sending my 6-year-old out all day to work for a nickel. So, as we were growing up, he was a hard worker. He always provided for us. Every time that he would give us anything, we appreciated it because it always came with a story well, when I was growing up, I had to, and so we heard these stories. And so he really instilled that sense of work in me at a young age. And so he was just very encouraging, very loving father, just really helped me. So obviously the death, it was just a major pivotal moment in my journey as an entrepreneur. And it just kind of pivoted me in a completely different direction. And it was just a way of honoring him. And it took a few months, I think even a year after his death, to really establish Kingfolk. But in that year, of course, going through the grief process is horrible. But it really was necessary to put me to where I am today, and to be able to really honor his memory in that way.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. And I'm sure he's looking down and he's so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And back to his stories, because I love that. Right. And I was raised the same way with a father. And I think that, we're losing some of that because it's a generational thing. And things were a lot tougher. My parents were raised by parents who went through the Great Depression.
Right.
And so there was always that sense of scarcity mentality.
Yes. Right.
Right.
Yep.
And when you hear those stories that, I had to walk, 5 miles in the snow uphill. And but it's real. That's real. It was a real thing. And it was a different time. And yes, my son is a senior in college and I'm like, what do you mean you're doing this? It's so hard. Yeah. When I was 6 years old, we would leave in the morning. Mm-hmm. Bye. And we would just run off and we would be outside playing all day. No cell phones. Heck, we didn't even have answering machines. We didn't even have call waiting back when I was growing up. And we would just leave and you would be out playing all day and then you'd come back when it gets dark and that was it. That was your life. Now, fortunately, I did not have to work as a child. And I think there's not a lot of that's still happening today because we do have laws in place and whatnot. But those stories, just back to the stories, like we're missing some of that today. We don't have that same type of grit that our parents had.
Yes.
And it's good. And it's
kids, because I think, they get so much because, I work so hard. So, they can benefit from that, but they don't have the stories like my father passed down to me. And so I worry about them not appreciating it, later on in life, because they don't have that story of struggle coming from me to them.
Yeah. Well, I think that at some point it does start to resonate with them because I hear my son, like when he'll ask me, can you just, I need $10 on Apple Pay, and I'm like, sure. Yeah. And he's like, thank you. And he's so grateful.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation once and he's like, I see how hard you're working.
Right. Yeah. I think it's great for them to see their parents working.
Yeah. He's like, I see how hard you're working and I feel bad that I'm asking you for money.
Right. That's sweet.
And I'm like, it's okay. Yeah. You're in college. Pay me back later.
That's right. Take care of me when I'm old.
That's all I ask. I only have one child. Please take care of me when I'm older, please, because you're all I got. Yeah. So back to your business. I mean, that's really incredible because I've owned multiple businesses as well, and it's hard. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in your head. So how did you, because I want to focus on the mindset behind being an entrepreneur, because I think that's where I've studied it. I coach clients on it. I help clients with their businesses and their success. And it can be a struggle because many times we get in our own way.
Yeah. Very much so.
Very much so. So how did you overcome some of that in the beginning, especially when you're trying to start a business and you're also grieving, by the way, and by the way, you've got children and you've got, all of these external things going on around you. So what did you do? What tools did you have to help you stay on track and keep that focus, especially when things are going on around you?
Right. I think that from the beginning, I decided to grow slowly and, really focus on one thing at a time. And also just keeping in mind that things are a test. If something is just a test and you're just testing it out, then it takes away that stress of it has to be right the first time. Everything was just, let's just see how this will work or that will work. And, then we'll reassess it and then we'll decide from there, which path it's going to go. So, and I think I still do that. I mean, we're still testing things out and that is leading us down, new paths. And we're just able to see where our business needs to take the next turn from that.
Yeah. And that's such great advice because really it's all a test.
Yes.
And when you go into it, okay, we're going to do it this way and you keep trying it the same way and this, right? What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. And you have to be willing to compromise and shift your perception when needed, because not everything's going to work the first time, the second time, the third time. Right. Just keep trying and keep making those shifts. And being open, I think is such a huge thing for business owners. It's just to be open that, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And I try not to be too tight gripped on one product. So if I'm seeing that something is not working, then, I try not to just be like, well, this is my baby and I'm going to keep it no matter what. And I'm going to squeeze the life out of it. I just have learned to just it may be a good thing, but sometimes you have to let good things go to be able to grow into other areas. So that's been a lesson I've learned over the past couple of years. And it's really done me well to just not hold on to anything too tightly.
Yeah. Now, when you started out, what was your vision for this? Did you imagine that you would be selling hundreds of thousands of your product?
No, I mean, Bibles weren't even on the radar for me. Faith-based products were, but I never dreamed that I would be where I am now. The focus whenever I started was bracelets, leather bracelets with scriptures, and then we did some handwriting bracelets where we took a loved one's handwriting and put them on a bracelet where they could wear it, daily as a reminder. So that just was not something that I thought that I was going to be doing, is this Bible, business. So it kind of turned from the original purpose into what it is now with the Bible. So it's been fun to watch it grow.
Yeah. Well, and I love that because, if somebody reads their Bible on a daily basis, it's a personal thing, and
Right.
So do you customize it, or how has that evolved?
Well, I'm a designer, so I've been designing products, for 10 plus years. So I started off with designing the covers, and we actually have a print shop. So we can print on the actual Bibles. And then I decided to partner with HarperCollins Publishing, and we did a line of KJV Bibles, the King James Version Bibles. And I designed it and then sent them to the designs, and their manufacturer then printed and shipped me the Bibles. So I do a little bit of a mix of both. I design all my products, but lately I've been collaborating with other designers. And so I've brought in some friends of mine that are like-minded, and we've been designing together. And that's been really fun to be able to share audiences and just have a common goal. And so I want to do more of that. That's actually a goal of mine in this upcoming year, is to collaborate more with other designers. So it's been fun.
That's great. That's really great. So what advice can you give someone who is thinking about starting a business and really doesn't know, where to start? What is the first thing that you need to focus on in order to set yourself up for success?
I would say to give yourself a lot of grace. You're going to fail. I mean, it is, even now, I mean, it's constant, I will fail at something, and that's fine, because that just leads you to your next thing. So if you stop when you fail, then you've got to get out of that mindset, because you've got to keep moving forward. Failure just pushes you in the direction that you're supposed to go. So don't look at that as a bad thing. Look at it as a good thing.
Exactly. And I always think of the analogy of a baseball player, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
They strike out when they're up at bat 9 times out of 10. I don't know the exact statistic, but that's probably close to being accurate.
Right.
And do they give up? Heck no.
No.
They've been striking out since they were probably 5 years old. Right? And it's such a good lesson in life, because it's not a failure.
No.
We can call it, it is what it is. We can call it that, but it's really more about, learning from that. It's a lesson learned.
Right.
And being able to build that resilience so that we can keep moving forward.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
About the forward motion there. So you just got to one foot in front of the other, and just a lot of grace for whenever you feel like a failure, because it's inevitable. You're going to fail, and you've just got to keep going at it.
I also want to ask you about the balancing act. As a woman, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, we all try to do it.
Right.
It's hard. I feel like for me, I gave up on believing that balance was actually going to be a reality for me, because it's such a juggling act every single day. Right. How do you handle that? And what advice can you give to other mompreneurs out there?
Well,
when you're feeling like,
again, with the grace, I mean, I think it's all about giving yourself a little bit of grace, but establishing some sort of routine and having the ability to quickly change the routine, because if you have kids, if you have a business, things are going to happen, and it's going to send your day in a different direction than you had on your calendar. So I would say to be flexible. That's one thing that I've really had to learn, is to be flexible with my schedule. And it's hard but you learn from experience. My kids are a little older. My youngest is 7, and then I've got an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I homeschool them too. So they're here with me. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but we are actually living in our workplace right now. So we built a shop, like a barn dominium, and we decided halfway through the building process that we would just move into it because we have enough room. So we built living quarters into our shop. So we're here all the time. So I've got to set boundaries for me as an entrepreneur that's living in the place that I work and with my kids, that, I can't work 24/7 because I work by nature. So it's a struggle for me to be like, okay, this is now family time. But I've had to build that into our days where I work and then we close for the day and then, it's family time. So just being able to set boundaries for yourself and just know that stuff is not going to go as it's planned. Life is just messy and crazy, and it's a struggle sometimes. But I think the kids seeing that is so beneficial for them to see us working, and we're just doing life together and making it work, and finding some joy in that.
Yeah, what great advice, because it really is. You have to be flexible.
Yes.
And things are going to change at a moment's notice. Yeah,
Right.
I work from home as well.
Right.
I just have an office. I don't have a big studio, but
Right.
but I'm in here, all day long.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would be like with 3 children and trying to do all of that. Yeah, there was a reason I only had one child. That God had other plans for me, that's for sure. And even when he's home from college, there's a different energy in the house for me because you're always on call, right?
Yeah.
And even, I'm even like, I usually will. Oh, speaking of which, yeah, he has been texting me, and I try to let him know in advance, oh, I'm about to interview somebody. So, because he'll just keep pinging me.
That's so sweet, though. I hope that my little boy does that whenever he's in college.
Oh, he needs money. I can guarantee you. Let's see.
Right.
Yeah. It's always, I need something from mom, right? It never stops. And I'm so grateful for that, because if they don't need you, oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
I can't either. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have so much amazing advice to share with people. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience before we finish up today?
I'm trying to think. I would
And where
say,
can people find you and your products as well?
Okay. So I've got a website. It's kingfolkco.com. So we sell on our website mainly, and then we do wholesale too. So I sell to other boutiques. We've got about 500 boutiques around the United States that we sell to. So our products are in stores, and you can find me if you have a boutique or want to purchase from us, then email us and we can get you some products.
Wow, you're in 500 stores. That's incredible.
Thank you.
I hope you take time to celebrate your success.
Yes.
And give yourself a big hug and a pat on the back, because that's really incredible. And I am so proud of your success, and I wish you nothing but the best. And
Thank you
I
so
love
much.
the work you're doing and being able to help other stay-at-home moms.
Right.
That's incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time today, and best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, Kerri. And thank you for all the listeners.